Hi, my name is Ryan, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a Fujifilm photographer here in Mesa, Arizona. I've been shooting Fuji since 2013 or 2014, as I can't remember now. It's been about a year, not a year, about 10 years, about a decade. And actually, I first got into Fuji in because I won a Facebook contest. I did one of those back in the day where camera companies used to do, hey, like and share this post, and you'll be entered to win a Fuji a camera. And I actually won the X100S, and that was just kind of my gateway gateway drug into the Fuji world. I sold off all my Canon stuff, and I've been a Fujifilm shooter ever since. So today I'm going to do a kind of a classic "What's in my bag," but just know that I have owned this is just the stuff that I currently own. I have owned almost. I feel like I've owned the Fuji. So like I said, I started with the 100S. I went to the 100T. I owned the XE2 when it first came out, and then I also owned the XE1, and I currently we'll get to the XE3 here in just a minute. I got the XT1 when it first came out, the XT2. I was an early. I early got onto the XH1 back in the day, and those are the cameras I've owned. I think I owned no, I owned the XM1 at one point for a little while. I was trying to get a little more handheld, a little more pocketable, but that one I didn't really shoot that much. It was kind of a clunky camera. Uh, but like I said, this is kind of what I owned so far. I've owned the 35 millimeter 1.4. I've owned the 35 millimeter 2.0. I've owned the 50 2.0. I've owned the 23 2.0. I've owned the 18 to 55. The 50 to 200. Is that what it is? The long zoom. I've owned a lot of lenses. I've owned a lot of Fuji cameras. But this is, like I said, this is just kind of what I have right now. But we're going to start off with what I have, my main kind of everyday driver. It's the Fujifilm X-H2S. Like I said, I was a early adopter on the XH1, and I love that kind of form factor and the controls on the XH1. And I'm gonna be honest, you guys. I almost flipped. I almost went left Fuji before the XH2S was announced. And basically the same day it was announced, I deposited my money. I put my order in at B&H. Got it in July of last year, and I've been shooting it ever since. And it's a great camera. I love the speed of it. I love the video capabilities. I've kind of only been getting into video for the past couple of years, but the video capabilities are just amazing on this camera, and yeah, there's just a lot to love. I love the controls. I'm probably one of the few people that really likes the fact that they went to the CF Express Type B cards. I know they're expensive, but I think they're lightning fast, especially compared to SD cards. And then obviously I have the grip on it. I've always just kind of been a grip person. I have bigger hands, so I like to have a grip, and then also I love shooting vertical with the grip as well. So that's the XH2 S, which I have. We'll be talking more about that camera. Hopefully, I'll do a review of all this stuff on the channel coming up. Then on the camera, I have I have the 33 1.4, the Fuji 33 1.4. I used to own the Viltrox 33 1.4, and this one is just way better. It's lightning fast, focusing. You don't have nearly as much fringing wide open. There's a lot of chromatic aberration on the Viltrox version. And this one, I love the fact that it's weather sealed, and it is amazing as well. So my other camera, my backup, is the XE3, and actually I'm strongly considering selling this one. Not because it's not a good camera. I think it's a great camera, but because right now I'm filming myself on a DJI Osmo Pocket, and I'd love to have another Fuji that I can use for backup video if I'm doing something for the channel, and I'm going to be doing some photo shoots with my XH2S. So great camera. I love the fact that it's small. I love the fact that I can pair it with the 27 2.8, and it looks like a kind of a slightly bulkier X100S. Takes amazing photos. It's still on the X-Trans 2 sensor, or X-Trans 2 or 3, I can't remember. It's one of the older sensors. It's the 3 because it's the 26 megapixels. So it does decent autofocus, but it is not nearly as good as its XH2S. Yeah, also for video, it just isn't very good for video. I'd love to get the XE4. I think that thing just looks amazing. It just looks so cool. But because of the video capabilities, I think I might be getting either the XT3 or the XT4 as kind of my backup camera. But yeah, still a great camera. I've taken lots of good photos with this camera. This is one I kind of just use with my family or friends, or I'll take on a trip with the family. So I just kind of throw it in my bag, and it's no big deal. And then I love this 2.8. This 27 mil 2.8. Just such a small, cool lens. It is super sharp, wide open. I love it if it was 2.0, like the 100, like the X100 series, but it still takes amazing photos. This is the Mark 1 version, so it's not the newer version, but I think it's still a great lens. It's a little slow at focusing, but for what it is, I really do love it. And then one other thing I do want to mention is I do have the fan attachment for the XH2S. I live in the Phoenix area. I took this bad boy out shooting. I play rugby. I went out to a rugby practice last summer, started shooting with this thing, 30, 40 frames per second. This thing overheated. And then I did some video with it as well outside, and this thing overheated. It's the fact that I live in the desert. It's 110 degrees. I'm not mad at the camera for that. But I did buy the fan attachment, and it is, ever since I've had this bad boy, I haven't had a problem with overheating. It works great. The 33 1.4, kind of your classic 50 mil equivalent lens. Great lens. I tend to shoot more wide and tight, so I probably don't use this lens as much as I should. It is a beautiful lens. I love the photos I get out of it. But I tend to shoot, like I said, more wide or tight. This is the 23 1.4, the new WR version. I bought it used, so I don't have the lens cap. I should probably just order one. But it is I love this focal length, 35 millimeter equivalent. If you throw this thing on the XE3, it's like a X100S or X100V quality, just amazing. Better autofocus than you're going to get out of the 2.8, and then also just a little bit wider as well. I like this focal length because it kind of shows a little bit of everything. If I'm shooting a wedding or a portrait session, it kind of shows the environment a little bit more. So love this one, the 23. So I probably, if I had to choose two lenses that I would shoot with all the time, it would be the 23 and then also the 56. This is the 56 1.2, the Mark II version. So this is the weather sealed version. I own the Mark 1 as well. And at a certain point, I realized, like I said, I own the 56 1.2. I bought that right when it came out. I bought this one right when it came out. I could probably get a deal on the Mark 1 right now if I wanted to, but this thing is just so good. So good wide open. I love the focusing on this version. It just focused so much better than the Mark 1. The other one was just really clunky. It missed focus a lot. So that's kind of the reason why I got rid of it. I also was more interested in the 50 millimeter Mark II, or the 50 millimeter f2, because it was just it focused so much faster, and that thing was super sharp, and this thing is super sharp as well. I, as much as I love that 50 millimeter f2, I probably love this one a little bit better. This is such a great lens. So like I said, if I had to choose two lenses to probably go out and I probably shoot a wedding or event with all day, it would be the 23 1.4 and the 56 1.2. These are just amazing lenses. They just super sharp, wide open, don't have a lot of chromatic aberration. Just really good. The only non Fuji lens that I own right now is the Viltrox 13 millimeter. And like I said, I've owned the Viltrox 33 and the 56. The 56 had a lot of, it was wide open, it was soft, it had a lot of chromatic aberration. But I was really strongly considering getting either the Fuji 16 millimeter or the 18 millimeter, and I just kept reading amazing reviews of this 13, and basically it kind of felt like it was kind of that sweet spot. I used to have the Rokinon 12 millimeter, which was a manual focus lens, and I love that lens. That was a great lens. And I figured that 13, 12, this is like kind of a good go-to wide open, wide angle lens. Great lens. The only complaint about it, as I'd say, is that it's not weather sealed. So basically, this one and the 27 are the only two primes that I have that aren't weather sealed. I have, we'll get to the zooms here in just a minute, but I only have one zoom that's not weather sealed. But this is a great wide angle lens. Doesn't have a lot of distortion. Great color rendition. Super sharp. This thing's built like a tank. It's all metal. I think I like the Viltrox hoods better than I like the Fuji hoods. It's metal. It's a metal hood. It's just works great. And I love this. I love this lens as well for video. This lens is great at video. Put this thing on a gimbal. I have the DJI Ronin as well. And this thing does. It's awesome, especially for shooting in low light indoors. Yeah, Viltrox 13 millimeter, f1.4. And once again, that's all my primes are 1.4 or 1.2, except for the Pancake, which I honestly don't really use this for professional shooting. It's mostly just for family stuff. Okay, zooms. First one is the kind of the workhorse of the bunch. This is the 50 to 140. I have owned this for about 6 years now. Great lens. Once again, like I said, I play rugby, and one time I was out shooting some rugby with this lens, and somebody ran into me, and I dropped my camera, and this thing just popped right off. And basically, what happened is that this the mount broke off, and you would think a mount would not be that expensive to fix, but it was $400, and guess what? Only Fujifilm is allowed to fix this mount. I took it to my local camera shop, and they're like, we can't even get the parts for it. So I have a baggie full of parts in my closet over there that I show some people sometimes and say, hey, you want to see what $400 looks like? Here you go. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's a great lens. I considered selling it a couple times because I honestly don't shoot with it that often. Not as often as I would like to shoot with it, because I don't know, I'm just not trying to zoom in that much because I tend to do more portraits, more kind of smaller, intimate things. Um, but it's a great lens. It's an f2.8, um, super sharp. I own the 90. I own the 90 f2, and I sold it mostly because I wanted a clear room to get the 56. Um, but it was really hard getting rid of that lens. That lens was super sharp, amazing lens. But the more and more I thought about it, was the difference in focal length that I got out of this lens, and the fact that the 90 was a fixed. I just wasn't using it as much as I should have, and I realized, hey, if I'm ever gonna do something more telephoto, more zoom, I'm probably gonna grab this lens. And that 90 was so good though. I used to look for reasons to use that lens. The bokeh was just creamy and beautiful. It was super sharp. It's widely considered one of Fuji's sharpest lens. Um, but in the end, I just stuck with the zoom. It's more versatile. If I ever go on like trips, if I ever do like we went to Hawaii a couple years ago, I basically just bought this and then the 16 to 55, which I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. And you have all your focal lengths covered, and it doesn't take up that much space in your bag. And it's just a super great lens. I usually keep the tripod collar off, but I just decided to put it on for this video. But I love this lens. It's a super good lens. Like I said, I just probably don't shoot with it as much as I should. So, hey, maybe that'll be a goal for 2023. Next is the 16 to 55. Right now I have an ND filter on it. This is probably my go-to lens for video, or if I'm ever doing anything with flash. A couple weeks ago, I actually did the team photos for my rugby club, and I did flash outside. Literally noon, sun was as high as it can be. I was shooting with 2 flashes. I was overheating every 5 minutes on my flashes. My poor flashes were working super hard, but then I was using this lens. It's just a great lens to zoom in and out. Like I said, this is probably my main video lens, mostly because I don't own a lot of filters, and this one is the widest filter I have, and I have an adapter where I can put it on this or my other lens as well. Great lens. I don't think the bokeh is as good as the 50 to 140, but part of that is just the focal length on that is more built for that. I love the fact that it's 2.8. Like I said, I own the kit lens, the 18 to 55. Great lens. The variable aperture bothered me, and once I bought this one, like if I had to choose between the two, I was usually grabbing this one. The other one was just sitting on the shelf, so I decided to get rid of it. Sometimes I still wish I had that 18 to 55. It's a great lens, but just mostly for the weight. It's just super light. This thing is a tank. It might even be. I'd say it's probably about maybe a little bit lighter than this one, but it's still. I mean, consider the size. There's a lot of glass moving in there. My biggest complaint about this lens is that it's not. It doesn't have the OIS in it like this one does, but it's a beautiful lens. It's super sharp. It's just as sharp as most of my primes, especially if you shoot them at 2.8. It's super sharp. It's a great lens. Like I said, I use it for video a lot. It's a great lens for that. And if you're shooting longer focal lengths like 50, 55, it does have some good bokeh, especially if you're close to your subject. My biggest complaint about this lens is the stupid lens hood. This thing is cracked and broken on me. I mean, basically, I don't. The reason I just, for some reason, I just still keep it on here, even though it just falls off. Fuji, get better at these lens hoods. Especially since like, yeah, it's hard to find. It's hard to find replacements. You can't just go on their website and buy a replacement. At least not that I've been able to find. If you found easy ways to get a replacement Fuji lens hood, put that in the comments because I don't know. I haven't been able to find that good of one. Great lens, great photos. The 16-55. And then the last one is probably I think the newest addition to the kit, and it's the 10-24. I have the 13, which I love, but it can be a hindrance to be stuck with one focal length. But so, I mean, they have the what is it, the 12-23? I don't even know what it is, but they have the red badge wide angle zoom lens. That's 2.8, and it is stinking expensive. And honestly, I ain't got that kind of money. But this is a great lens. This is the Mark 1, so it's not weather sealed. So this and the 13 and the 27 are my non-weather sealed lenses. This has been a great lens in the short time I've owned it. It's a great lens for video because I can put it on a gimbal and it's all internal focus, so it doesn't really throw off the gimbal as when I do that. It's got optical image stabilization, and also it is an f4, which is kind of a bummer. But what I've been using it for a lot lately is I've started doing real estate photography, and I've literally only used this lens. It's super sharp. I usually shoot it at 5.6 or 7.1. Super sharp, amazing lens, especially if you lock it down on a tripod. It's gonna be amazing. Yeah, you don't have a lot of warping or distortion. No chromatic aberration that I've been able to see. It's just a beautiful lens. I thought about getting the Mark II because I wanted the weather sealing, but from what I understand, it's literally the exact same lens formula. So you're getting the same internal parts. And I was like, I could find this thing for half the price on eBay, which is what I did. Great, amazing lens. Like I said, if I paired this up with my 16-55 and my 50-2, it's 140. I got 10 millimeters to 140 millimeters. That's a 15-210 full frame equivalent. Just a great lens to have, and I love it. It's like I said, it's made me money in the short amount of time I've had it. So yeah, that's it as far as what's in my bag as of right now. The only other thing is the main thing I've been keeping my gear in is this Apache case, and it's just like a Pelican case, except you can get it at Hardware Freight for $100, and they're on sale a lot. I bought it for $100 because I didn't feel like waiting for the sale. But all my stuff fits in here. It's on rollers. It can be locked, and I've just really loved having this thing. I've only had it for a couple months, but I love the fact that I can keep everything in here. I took it with me on a trip to Vegas, and I did some shooting up there. It rides perfectly on an airplane as a carry-on. Yeah, great case. It's Apache 5800, and like I said, it's literally just like a Pelican case, but just way cheaper. I'm all about finding good deals, and that's the other thing is that basically, like I said, I ordered the XH2S, and the 56 1.2 brand new. But I think everything else I own, I mean the fan, um, is pretty much used. I buy almost all my stuff used. So take some time, go on eBay, go on Amazon, see if you can see if they have better used prices. Maybe one day I'll do a video about how to buy used gear, because I buy a lot. Most of my stuff is used, and I prefer it because honestly I'd rather get a deal. And most of the time, people who are buying this high end camera equipment, they usually take good care of it. I haven't had a big problem with buying used yet. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'm up to about 25 minutes. Probably a little bit longer than I intended on going. But that's the gear. I know I watch a lot of photography YouTube, and gear I know is what gets the clicks, as they say. So yeah, this is gonna do it for my first video on what's in my bag, my Fujifilm kit. If you have any questions about any of the gear I've mentioned, go ahead and put them down in the comments. I'd love to answer and interact with you. Have a great day.